Hey y'all, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I am back with another serious live. I don't even want to call this a bomb live because of the nature of the topics that we are going to touch on today. With that said, if you are new here, please hit the subscribe button. Welcome to my channel. If you're coming back, thank you for rocking with me. Y'all hit the like button. If you're catching a replay, y'all hit the like button on your way in. So, Kanye West came out on Twitter and said that he basically admitted that until he was about 14 years old, he had a sexual relationship with his cousin. I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube. Um, can I say incest? I don't know, but he basically admitted that he had that type of relationship with a male cousin of his, and he was very explicit. Like he specifically said that he gave his male cousin dome until he turned 14. Now, a lot of people are saying that he shouldn't have said that. A lot of people are looking at him crazy. They're side-eyeing him. They're talking bad about him because of it. But honestly and truly, though this is an uncomfortable conversation to have and people don't want to have it, it's easier to just make fun of the situation. I very much think that this is a conversation that needs to get had because people are talking about this like this is not common, but there are so many people all on the internet. You can go on Reddit. You got people like Kiki Palmer who admitted that this happened with one of her cousins. There are so many men now coming out and admitting that they got touched. So I feel like instead of us making fun of the situation, this is an opportunity to have a real serious discussion because if you came up in the 90s and early 2000s, then you know that a lot of things got swept under the rug. I feel like that was a time where our parents, I don't want to say our parents, I don't want to say they didn't pay attention to us because, like, if I had to compare Gen X parents to millennial parents, Gen X parents definitely paid more attention to their kids than millennial parents. It's like, even though millennial kids stay at home more and they're on their devices, I think like millennial parents just kind of come home and numb the world out. And I will say Gen X was more strict. They were more in our business, but at the same time, they weren't. Like, we were running feral. Like, if you came up in the 90s and early 2000s, then you know that our parents didn't give a damn. I'm not saying they didn't care about us because they did, but like, for example, I remember that I used to come home from school, do my homework sometimes if I felt like it. And basically from 4 o'clock all the way up until 7, 8, sometimes later, I would be outside with my brothers running wild. And the mentality was back then people had more kids, so you were outside with your siblings, so siblings were supposed to watch out for each other. But another problem with this is that it was your responsibility as a child to make sure that you didn't get raped. And I remember back then there was a lot of shame surrounding that. Like, I remember one time my mom was in the apartment and she was asleep. Like, she had worked all day long. We had some friends who we grew up with, these twins, right? And they had a brother that lived in the neighborhood. The brother was 20 years old. Again, we had been going around them for years. So I remember he came into the house. I don't even remember why he was in our apartment, but again, it wouldn't have seemed weird because my mom knew him. Again, we had hung out with his brothers plenty of times. So he was in the house. My mom knew he was in the house, but again, she just didn't think anything of it. So she went to sleep and he suggested that we play hide and go seek, right? So my brothers went and hid. I went and hid in the room. He came in the room where I was at, threw me on the bed, opened my legs, and he was about to try to grape me. The only thing that stopped him was that my brother came in the room. My older brother came in the room and saw what was going on. So he backed up off of me, right? And I remember being so ashamed that he tried to do that with me. I felt like it was my fault because we had been taught that if a grown man tries to touch you, like say something, but then at the same time, you did something to entice them. So it's kind of your fault, like you were being fast when we were just playing hide and go seek. So I remember being guilty and I told my brothers, please don't tell. And I didn't do anything. It's not like I was touching him back. It's not like I wanted it. It's not like I liked it. I literally just froze up, right? But I remember being so afraid to tell my mom. And then I remember my brother got mad at me maybe like 2 years later. And he told my mom what had happened. But when he told her, it was to get back at me. Like it was like as punishment, right? It was to get me in trouble. And I got in trouble kind of. My mom was like, well, what did you do to entice him? Well, like I was the problem because at 7 years old, a 20-year-old man tried to grape me. That's how it was in the 90s. Like, if something like that happened to you, it was automatically assumed that you were being fast. It was a lot different than what it was today. With that said, I carried guilt and shame when those situations occurred being a girl. We don't never talk about how these situations affect these men. Most men carry it to the grave. And y'all know I used to work in high school, and I said it before. I'm gonna say it again. I don't know if this is something new, like it's a new epidemic, or this has been going on, but I would venture to say that the young men coming up now, like this new generation of young boys, I would boldly say that at least 65% of them deal with men in a sexual capacity. These young boys. Y'all, when I worked at the high school, it was off the chain. How many of those young boys were messing with each other, going in the bathrooms and doing stuff with each other? The gay boys who were out would get upset and or they get distraught, and it would be boys that and put their business out there, and it would be boys that you wouldn't even be able to tell. Like it would be boys that played football, or boys that were seemingly masculine and like girls. It would be the boys that were ruggish and thuggish were especially the ones who were on the DL. It seemed like the more thuggish they were, the more they were likely to be DL. What's up, Jamal? Good to see you, brother. I'm glad you're coming in. I'm just now kind of getting this conversation started. Um, so again, I want to say we're gonna kind of be sensitive around this issue because I don't know if y'all heard. I'm gonna pull the video up, but Kanye West came out and admitted that until the age of 14, he gave a male cousin of his dome. Now he didn't give any more, you know, details. Apparently, he has a song about it coming out on his new album. But I feel like this is so much more common than what we would like to admit. And I was just talking about how, as a young girl, when things of this nature, not necessarily like with family members, but just in general, again, if you grew up in the 90s as a girl, it was your responsibility to not get raped or sexually violated. Like it was automatically assumed that you were the one who were at fault if a grown man tried to violate you. It was automatically assumed that you were being fast, right? So I remember the guilt and shame that I came up with. So I can only imagine how a grown man or a young boy feels, and the guilt and shame he feels having to kind of take this to the grave with him, because now your masculinity and your manhood is coming into question. And I can only imagine what that does to the psyche of a man, right? If you had a call in members only or Patreon, I could tell you some childhood stories from Chicago. I think I am gonna do a members only soon. I'm just waiting for my channel to grow a little bit more, but we can touch back on this topic. But yeah, I will eventually do a members only. I know what Ye said, and yes, Chicago is too twisted, super twisted. But you know what? It's not just Chicago. This happens so much, and again, there's so much shame around it, and I feel like we need to start talking about this in the open because if we continue to act like it is something that is not normal, and when I say that, I'm not saying it should be normalized. I'm saying it needs to be a conversation that's had in households. Family members need to be taught how to interact with other family members, what is and is not appropriate. Kids should be comfortable speaking up and saying something happened, right? These conversations need to be happening young. Instead, what the adults assume is, oh, we're not going to talk to the kids about it because of course they're not going to explore their sexuality with each other, right? They're cousins. And it's like, no, these are kids. Yes, they're learning right from wrong, but you still have to treat them as if they don't fully understand the world. I do think pedo be yes, and I was gonna go to that. So when Kanye admitted that, the first thing that went to my mind was who touched him? Who touched you? Because what it seemed like is that Kanye introduced the cousin to this lifestyle. And so my thoughts immediately go to, well, who touched Kanye? And I don't know if he's gonna admit to that. I don't know if it did or did not happen. This is just my speculation. Who was the one who introduced you to all that? What grown man was touching on you? I think pedo behavior will slow down as time goes on. People are more diligent about it. Yeah. Yeah. Because even now, the narrative has kind of shifted. Where back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was more common to blame the child if they got touched, especially if it was a girl child. Now people are starting to 1000% shift the blame onto the perp. The only people who are still victim blaming the children are like older people in our community, or people who engage in that type of activity themselves. So I'm going to pull up my TikTok account. Give me 1 second. Y'all, if I get up to stir my pot, I apologize. I am cooking some chicken that I want to be done by the time I get off this live. I hope I favorited the video. Not my internet going slow. Mm. Here we go. That ain't here we go. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, guys, and this is Everybody Hate Chrissy on TikTok.
West is shaking again, and he's spilling what I do believe is 110% his truth. He's been spiraling out for the past couple weeks. Some I've reported on, some I have not reported on. But this, oh, I think that we have to talk about it. Let us read. Oh, baby, because one thing we're going to do is we're going to stay on this frame because we're going to read this tweet that Kanye West just tweeted out. And it's crazy because I can never keep up to whether or not he's banned on Twitter or not. But like I said, let us read. This song is called Cousin, about my cousin that is locked in jail for life for unaliving a pregnant lady a few years after I told him we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. Perhaps in my self centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I had showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6, and then we acted.
Okay, so basically, he has a cousin in jail. I guess the incestuous relationship started by them looking at dirty magazines. The cousin obviously turned out to be very violent, unalived a pregnant lady. I don't know the age gap here. So people are accusing Kanye West of being a PDF file, but he doesn't say anything about an age gap. He says he did this act on his cousin until he was 14 years old, but I don't know how old Kanye West was when he introduced the corn to his cousin. They could have been the same age, they could have been very close in age. So he didn't give that information out.
We acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found at the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I gave fellatio to my cousin until I was 14. Tweet sent. There's so much to unpack here, but let's start off with this new album. So his new album that he's going to be releasing this song on called Cousins is going to be on the album that he just changed the name to Cuck. According to AOL News, they said that the new album's name is going to be called Cuck. And for those who do not know what it is, I do believe that Kanye is referring to the second definition from Google, a man whose wife is actually unfaithful. Now, Kanye West allegedly has Bianca Censori, and he solicits her out to other partners. I think that's the best professional way to say that. Just like Diddy. And that's why Diddy's also going to be on.
I'm gonna say this: birds of a feather flock together. Okay. And at one point, Diddy, Kanye, and Jay-Z too. We're not gonna leave him out because we've all heard the alleged rumors of how he does Beyonce, about how he allegedly pimps her out. They were all cool. Y'all think they ran in that circle together for so long and they weren't engaging in a lot of the same activities? Yeah, Diddy might have been worse than Kanye, but don't think he wasn't out here doing weird stuff too. In terms of the corn, again, if you grew up in the 90s, I don't know. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. And some of this is me kind of giving my testimony. It was not uncommon to have access to pornography. I think kids have access to it way more because they're getting these cell phones younger and younger. And I'll talk about that. I think it's leading to the denigration of society. But for example, I believe the first time I watched a corn video, I had to have been like 5 years old. And my stepdad put them in the same closet that all of our VH tapes were in. Our VHS tapes were in. That's how old we are. I'm talking about VHSs, right? And there was no like label on them. I just remember popping it into the VCR and turning it on and just sitting and staring. And I was too young at the time. Like I don't remember watching those videos and being turned on by it, but I remember being interested in what was going on. We would go in my parents' room, my mom and my stepdad's room when they weren't there, and he had all kind of nasty magazines. And again, I just remember being interested, and I remember every day after school almost just coming and looking at these videos, and sometimes my brothers would be there and we wouldn't be doing nothing. We would just be watching, like laughing, like what's going on here, you know? Um, but I don't think that was something that was uncommon because I remember even when I was in the 6th grade, I had some friends that I would go over their house. Some boys, like they were not boyfriends, but boys that I was friends with. So if you're from Dallas, I would go to one of my male friends' house. He lived in Little Mexico Village, and this is the projects of Dallas, right? So they would be watching corn or had a corn tape in, and they would be like, "Oh, my dad gave this to me." And a lot of the times the fathers would give it to the son so that they wouldn't be gay. But I mean, we were in the 6th grade watching this, just sitting there watching it. Hold on, give me 1 second. But yes, I got bullied. I made it clear that I wouldn't be. Hold on, give me a minute. I gotta go back, Jamal. Okay, I think pedo behavior will slow down. Okay, I read that. But yes, I got bullied. I made it clear that I wouldn't be joining none of them gangs, but reserve my right to be involved in the streets if I had to, and jealous family members. So therefore, you do the math. Let me tell you something. I had a young man tell me, I knew this boy, right? And he used to like always be in trouble. This is like ankle monitor type kid, thug, Hispanic boy, you know? And he was on papers, all of that. Very respectful, very cool. But um I knew another young man that was openly gay. And he told me that one summer, I guess the Hispanic boy that was thuggish and ruggish was bored and broke up with his girlfriend and called the gay boy over so the gay boy could give him dome, and they just never spoke after that. And you would have never looked at this young man and thought that he would be into that. Every Gen X black man from Chicago is sexually twisted and pass the energy along. I believe that. You heard the rumors about Lil Durk, and that's another thing I was going to talk about. I feel like the rap industry is basically a boys club where all of these men get together and they sleep with each other behind closed doors, and they make music about, you know, the women, the bitches, the hoes, the money, the cars and clothes, and they make music glorifying treating women like shit, basically. Like that's a badge of honor, not falling in love with a woman, which to me that's weird behavior. But a lot of it be because behind closed doors they're sleeping with each other or they secretly want a man. I remember when that information came out on Lil Durk about Sydney Starr. A lot of people forgot about that. So if you don't know, Sydney Starr is a very popular transgender woman. Everybody knows Sydney Starr used to be a man, right? It's not a secret. And I remember when that tea came out that Lil Durk and Sydney Starr were messing together. Meanwhile, Lil Durk has how many baby mothers? I know it's more than 3. I think he has 8 kids all together. So he's over here repopulating the earth with all these baby mothers, but behind the scenes, allegedly messing with Sydney Starr. And where there's smoke, there's fire. Even with this whole Kanye West situation, I'm gonna talk about that. How Jeffree Star is, you know, kind of trying to put it out there that the whole situation between them that was rumored over a decade ago actually was true. I guess Jeffree Star was like, okay, well, since you putting your business out anyway, I might as well go ahead and admit to it. But usually, where there is smoke, there is fire. So you had a whole generation of men who liked men raising up this generation of boys to dislike women, to view women as the enemy, to view women as somebody that is to view women as unworthy of love. I had 2 kissing cousins when I was young, but today, decades later, we can tell each other everything and she's very entertaining. Okay. How obviously pimps her out. Queen B get your kitty twerking at a private show for Arab billionaires. Let me tell y'all something. As soon as you see celebrities run to Dubai, Dubai is Sodom and Gomorrah. I knew a few girls who would go to Dubai to make them a quick $50,000, but all money ain't good money because basically they would be being human porta potties. And these people have stupid money. You got to understand, Dubai has new money, right? These are new money Arabs that used to be farmers and things like that. And then they discovered there was oil underneath the land, right? So basically, you have a whole bunch of new money men who get off on seeing that their money can literally make another human being swallow their shit and swallow their urine and do whatever it is that they want. It's so perverted. It's so perverted. And you have so many women who are running over there and celebrities to go get that bag because a lot of the money in the United States has dried up. We all did. I loved Red Shoe Diaries on Friday nights on Showtime. Okay, you talking about the videos. You not that old, Mariah. I'm born in 83. Well, yeah, you got about you got a decade on me. But it was still similar times. Cuz I feel like before everybody started getting computers in their house, the culture wasn't moving as rapidly. I feel like things quickly started to progress in terms of a cultural shift after about 2004. But like time was moved a little bit slower. We have very a millennial born in 93 grew up very similarly to a millennial born in 83, 84, 85. You know, we have a lot of the same shared experiences, and they make love songs for their dead homies and be crying over them and everything. And you won't never see them cry over no woman. Don't forget about Dirk in the room with Diddy. Okay. Now, let me tell y'all something. Y'all know I love Central C. Love me some Central C. But as soon as I seen that Central C was at Mike Rubin's all white party with Lil Baby before his album dropped, I'm like, man, see, did you sell out? Because we already know Lil Baby sold out. We already know what goes down at them all white parties. We already know why Mike Rubin went and got Meek Mill at a jail. We already know that situation. And Meek and French, and it was blood on the sheets. Wow. Kanye was with Sydney Star first. I believe it. Dirk is a follower and loves who other prominent guys had, and that's why he got burnt. Again, you do the math. I saw a lot in the 80s and 90s. The 2000s was the nicest decade. Ew, Central C, they are, you think so? You think so? And that's why a lot of the times these men have problems emotionally connecting to women. I think there's a part of them that, you know, they're men. I think there's a part of them that still likes the vajayjay, right? I think there's a part of them that would like to connect to the women, but then I think there's a part of them that feels shamed when they come around women, right? Imagine you got a girl that really likes you and she's put you on a pedestal, but you know every time that you come around her that you're carrying guilt and shame because you got touched on when you were younger. And let's be clear, it feel the same whether it's coming from a man or a woman. So a lot of them might feel shame that they might have enjoyed it. Even though they were kids, that's not their fault, right? And then the ones who still continue to do it, because it's something that now it's become some type of perversion for them. I think a lot of the times they're afraid to connect with a woman, right? Because they carry that guilt and that shame. And then a part of them just might feel like it's just not right. And I know that sounds crazy because a woman might feel like, oh, well, they should just be out in the open or they should be honest with us. But at the end of the day, they're a man and they still want your approval, but they also might not feel right about going all in with you because they know that there's a part of them that still enjoys being with men. So they keep an emotional distance. I'm shocked. I figured you say you don't rock with Lil Baby for rocking with them. You're a first to say the opposite. What you mean? I mean, I kind of feel like with the whole Lil Baby situation, um, that's how he had to come up. I mean, there's just certain heights that you're not gonna reach in that industry unless you start sleeping with men. So I don't know. My whole thing is I don't rock with anybody who was messing with children. I don't rock with that. I don't rock with none of that. But I mean, I if he felt like that's what he needed to do to get on and he was willing to do that, I can't be upset with him. I'm gonna continue to play this video.
On this album, he made Cassie, mess with different workers, ex-workers, mess with different people in the industry, and they would all get a piece of her. And I do believe allegedly that Kanye is the same way with Bianca Censori, and that's why we're getting Cousins on the Cuck album. Now, another part that he just revealed a couple days ago was about his mother. He said that his mother was a lesbian and allegedly used to hook up with his babysitter. And interestingly enough, when you think about it, that's probably something that him and Jay Z had in common. Jay Z found out later in life that his mother's a lesbian and she's out of the closet with her white woman now. So let's continue to read the quote that Kanye said about his mother. That day when you hear her noises coming from your mom's room and you find out she's a lesbian and you're like, "Mom, that's my babysitter. You're sleeping with the employee. See, I got it from you, Mom." Now, there's been some recent lawsuits, several lawsuits, dating all the way back to the 2010s.
I don't care what nobody say. And again, I respect the LGBTQ community. Um, I believe they should have the same rights as everybody else. But like, let's have a real conversation here. This kind of stuff confuses kids when they're young. Their minds can't process it. You like Central C more than Lil Baby? Yeah. I like I like Baby's old music more than I like his new music. And I think Central C's new music is better than the music that Baby puts out now, if that makes sense. These guys have some weird backgrounds. My mom would never before or after becoming saved. Yeah. Yeah. I I saw a lot. I saw a lot growing up. Even being in a heterosexual relationship, you gotta watch what you expose your child to when you're in the house. Like it could be very, very confusing.
Of Kanye always trying to solicit his employees for pleasure, inappropriate pleasure. So that's why he's saying, "I see, I got it from you, Mom." Because when these girls come out and say, "Hey, Kanye tried me, he wanted to mess with me," sometimes he'll tweet back that that's accurate. Tokyo Tony
I
has
didn't know
come
that.
out in the comments of that post and said Kim tried to help him. She cleared your debt. She loved you. Her mama got you the best doctors. You refused. This broke your marriage and now the support system is gone. This is why he continues. Now, Tokyo, she has her own discretions, but I'm sure everything.
I wonder how much of this information that Kim knew. And that's another reason why I wanted to talk to this. My sisters, I want to free y'all from trying to save men who are in competition with you because they also like men. And that's not to talk bad about Kanye West. You're dealing with a conflicted soul. And I feel like the reason why Kanye would parade Amber around naked the way he did and make her wear stuff she didn't want to wear. And I feel like the reason why Kanye parades Bianca Sensory around the way he did is because he was living vicariously through them. He liked watching these men give all this attention to his wife because he secretly wished he could be in their position. It's kind of like the situation with Diddy in the voyeurism, where he would like to sit up and watch Cassie get smashed by these male workers. A lot of the times they're thinking about these men doing the same thing to them. So it's an opportunity to live vicariously through the woman. And yes, of course, they engage in these acts with these men too as men, but I think a part of them secretly wishes they were women, honestly and truly. That's why a lot of the times you'll see these type of men be very jealous and abusive towards women and try to dim their light because secretly they wish they had their spot. And it's very sad, especially like when it's a situation where this man got messed with young and it completely messes his psyche up. To me, there's no difference between that type of person and a trans person who feels like they were born in the wrong body. Then again, without TV, how would boys as men know how to make love to a woman? I was lame, so without R. Kelly and movies, I don't know how I would be so diligent about pleasing a woman. This is how you know. Here's the thing: men watching porn and watching movies, that is not a depiction of what women actually want. That is a depiction of what men want to do to women, honestly and truly. Like most of that stuff that's in corn, women don't actually really like. There's a reason why 80% of women have never even had the big O, right? That is not made for women's pleasure. I mean, even when I think about all the stuff that's just super degrading now in our society, right? Um, it's to the point where the stuff with the back door, it's too out of hand. But a lot of that came from men wanting to do that. Now, I have met women who were like, yeah, I enjoy doing it now. But a lot of the times, their first time that they did that, a man asked them to do that. That's not something that women just sit up and be like, I want to try just on our own, right? That's not something that, yeah, it's just, it ain't for us. So a lot of that again is what men feel like they should be doing to women, and that's why a lot of women are complaining about how it's not even good now more than ever. With the explosion of corn being so easily accessible, women are complaining now more than what I've ever heard them complain that these men don't know what they're doing at all. What's up, Sheba? Girl, I'm listening while I make dinner and you are so on it. Clock it. They want to be the woman. Yes. And you can't tell me, let's go back to Fresh and Fit. Now, I saw those old pictures of him laid up in the bed with those white boys in college. You cannot tell me that he does not want to get bent over. I'm sorry. It gives effeminate, it gives hater. Like men used to be more masculine. Like there's always going to be some conflict between men and women because our brains are wired differently. We have different goals and objectives, right, when dealing with each other. But men used to kind of have the attitude of, huh, women can't live with them, can't live without them. Now there is like a visceral hate, right? And a lot of it is led again by men who are attracted to men having the loudest mics. You give the rappers a platform to tell men how they should feel about women and how they should treat women. And it's like, dog, you don't even like women like that. Or you like women, but you like men too, and you secretly feel a way toward the women. And I was saying this probably before you came on, Sheba. Working in high school was a real eye opener, and I genuinely feel like at least 65% of the young men today like messing with men because I would hear and see so much. It would be boys that you would never, it would be star football players messing with the gay boys. It would be boys that like you would never even get that. You literally can't tell anymore. You don't know. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they start watching corn very young on their phones. And after a while, but that interaction between a man and a woman is starts getting boring. And then they just slowly graduate to just stuff that we probably don't even know they're watching, honestly and truly. Give me a second, y'all. I grew up wishing and identifying with women, white and black, and that made me love them and admire them more. I was a feminist male until 2015. Can you explain that? What do you mean, like you identified with them, Jamal Johnson? Like, did you ever have a feeling like you wanted to be a woman? Child, yes, he was cuddling with those men. The red pill manosphere guys like Fresh and Fit are definitely DL types. And you know what pisses me off the most about it? Um, when I was working in the high school, there would be boys who would never in their life need the red pill. I'm talking about young boys who were charismatic, young boys who, had their looks going for them, who would be walking around bitter at the young girls, and they would be quoting uh Andrew Tate and quoting Fresh and Fit. And it's like, sir, this doesn't like none of what they're saying would ever apply to you. Like, if you would just fix your attitude, you would have absolutely no problem with getting any girl you wanted to at this school. But like, you're walking around giving off weird vibes. So people are calling you crazy and saying that you're weird. 80% of women have never actually, yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that 80% is wild. Yes, it's not enough after a while. I read an article that men with corn addiction get more and more extreme over time. Usually they end up into trans and then eventually kitty. Yeah, it's like a gateway drug. And there's a difference between a man who watches it every once in a while and like a man who is watching it every day. And sometimes you don't even know. Y'all, I'm going to tell y'all a story. So I have an ex. I have an ex. So I used to work at night and I was with this ex for a long enough time to where, we lived together for, I don't want to give too many details because I don't want people in my life to be able to pinpoint which one it was, right? Because I don't have that many exes. I don't have that many serious boyfriends from my past, right? But I would go to work and like I did not find out until the end of our relationship that not only did he have a corn addiction, but he had what's called a scat fetish. What does that mean? He's into feces. Like, and when I say into feces, like for example, I remember he started just kind of acting weird. Like, I remember one morning I woke up and he was like, "Oh, you passed gas," and I was so embarrassed because I don't. First of all, I don't like the F word. That other word for pass gas. I don't like hearing it. I don't do that in front of people. Like, I'm just so particular about that, right? So I was extremely embarrassed. But then he was like, "Oh, well, it was cute." I was like, "Okay," and he was like, "I liked it." What do you mean? He's like, "It made me hard." What? So I now start asking questions, right? And he proceeds to tell me that you know smelling it, looking at it, touching it, anything like that turns him on. Like, he was seriously into it. And he told me that every night when I would go to work, he would be watching corn with that kind of content in it. And it's like I sleep next to you. Like, I mean, yeah, I would be gone at night, but I would come back before the sun comes up. And it's like, I sleep next to you. I spend a lot of my time with you. And I would have never guessed that you are into that. And it just completely changed my perception of him. So much so that part of the reason why I didn't want to get back with him after we broke up was because I'm like, if you're into that, you're not too far off from being able to have some type of relationship with a man, because I don't know too many women who are going to indulge that type of fantasy, but you can easily find a gay man that is going to indulge in that. So my whole thing was, I'm like, no, I can't, because in the back of my mind I'm going to think that if you're not messing with men, you're going to go mess with men. I identified with their struggles and challenges. I love The Craft, Clueless, Mean Girls, and just be very sympathetic to female characters in movies. Picking female fighters in video games. Okay. So not necessarily that you wanted to be a woman, but you just more so like identified with what women were going through. Guys, thank y'all for coming in. Please, if you can, hop in the comments, be a part of this discussion, and hit the like. That helps people know that I'm on live. Girl, that's so scary. Young boys do not need to be listening to those incels and woman haters. Girl, yeah. When he admitted to me that he had that fetish, it honestly and truly, it it broke my trust in myself, because I was like, how did I not discern that something was off? But I'll be honest, even looking back, there were no signs. So it's so scary. There were no signs. And then y'all got to remember, I'm not the type to go through phones and things like that. So I never saw him watching that. But I remember when he told me, I was like, well, let me see some of the stuff that you watch. And like the little bit that he showed me was so disturbing, right? I just admired everything about them. Even working girls would get their pimps to go with them to get involved if guys are pew-pewing in front of the kids and make them stop. Child, I listened to Smeg's Worker podcast with women that make money off that fetish. Well, y'all know Odell Beckham Jr. got put on blast. And y'all know there was rumors about Odell and Justin Bieber. And that's what I'm saying. When men are into those type of fetishes, homosexuality is not too far off. Because whereas us ladies would be more like ill, gross, disturbed by that type of behavior, these men, they feel like, well, feces just comes with backdoor action. And yeah, you have some really clean gay men who douche back there and all that, but that's not the majority. Most of these men don't even wipe their ass properly. Hey, intelligent hood genius. Good to see you, brother. What's more, I just clicked in the live, but based off of the title, I'ma sit this one out, boss. LOL. I definitely got to hop back off the live. LOL. Kanye West, I'ma still bump first 3 albums though. I mean, this definitely doesn't take away from him as an artist. And again, like, I'm not trying to shame Kanye West for coming out and speaking his truth. Feel like we don't know the whole story. I'm glad he's talking about it, because this is something that women have speculated for years, that a lot of these men are dealing with issues with their sexuality. And that's why they behave the way that they do towards women. So we need more men to come out and loudly proclaim that these things started happening when they were kids, because it completely affects the way that they interact with women. I think men, when it comes to being violated or being introduced to that type of stuff so young, I don't think they have the same bounce back that women do. Like, it even affects a lot of women in a negative way, because you'll see some women who are very promiscuous, or you'll see women who kind of go into protectionist mode and they don't want to deal with men at all, or they gain weight so that they won't be as attractive. Like, so women already kind of don't deal with this in a good way. But like, again, like men are so much more emotionally fragile than us. So I feel like you could take how we feel and multiply that at least by 3. Exactly. It would make me think he is bi. Yeah, I mean, and again, people are calling him a PDF file because he said he did it until he was 14. But and then he said he introduced his cousin to it when his cousin was 6. But like that doesn't necessarily mean that Kanye was a PDF file. He said he did it up until he was 14. Kanye might have been 8 and the boy might have been 6, and they're close in age. They might have been the same age and they just continued this for years, and he stopped when he was 14. We don't have enough information is what I'm saying. I also want to talk about the fact that the cousin is in prison because he unalived a pregnant woman. And that goes back to the conversation that I was having earlier about how a lot of the times this violence that these men have towards women, this anger, this hatred, is a manifestation of those feelings that they have not dealt with from being introduced with dealing with men at such a young age, from already feeling emasculated, from having a fragile male ego. And when I say fragile male ego, I don't mean all men have a fragile male ego. I'm saying if you got violated as a man as a child, you dealing with an ego that's much more fragile than a man who didn't get violated as a child. That's what I mean by that. So it's like you're already dealing with all of these conflicting emotions. And then on top of that, dealing with maybe feeling guilty about you liking what happened to you, maybe still dealing with men. And then you get to see women, us women, we get to live our truth. We get to live free and in the open. Even if a woman is a lesbian or bisexual, she doesn't get the same scrutiny as a gay man or a bi man does. And these are double standards that are hardwired into our psyche. I don't think this is a societal construction. Sorry, a societal construct. I think at a biological level, for whatever reason, I don't know why, we feel disgust when we think about men sleeping with other men. It is something about that that disgusts us. Sorry, it is something about that disgusts us at a base level. And I'll be honest and admit that my higher self, my more conscientious self, is accepting of gay men. But on a subconscious level, when I get that image in my mind, my stomach turns. And I don't mind being honest about that. I'm not going to sit here and lie and make it seem like I haven't trained myself to be accepting towards that. But I support LGBT rights, all of that. I support gay marriage for people who want to be with each other. But I got to be honest, at the most primal level, there is something about that that disgusts me. And men know this. And I feel like these type of men who are dealing with all of these conflicted feelings feel so much disgust towards women because we can just be. We can just be. Yes, and I believe Odell was into that. The same girl, Alina, also was violated by Trey Songz. Come on now, it's something about the music industry. Yeah, he on demon time for real. Yeah, I hope more men come out and tell their truth. It will make things so much better overall. Just for us to get an understanding. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. There are plenty of women who will still date these men. Here's the problem though. The women that will still date them, they don't want. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the time, I was listening to this dude. I don't know if y'all remember this. He went viral. He was a bisexual man. And he went viral and he said it's women's fault why men are on the DL because women don't want to date DL, don't want to date bisexual men. And he said that the ones that do want to date bisexual men, they don't want to date them. And we know what he meant. We know what the type of girl that dates bisexual men looks and behaves like. They don't want them. They want the women who take care of themselves well and are classy and are bad chicks, and the women who can pull men, men of high caliber. They want those women, but those women don't want to date bisexual men. No, we don't know. One trains us. He isn't a PDF file, but he did violate him. Yes, of course. Yeah, I'll say that. He did violate him, but like if it was a situation where they were close in age, I mean, and I'm thinking about this in terms of like criminal liability. You feel me? Like there's no, what can you know what I'm saying? Like, what can you do in that situation? Like, yeah, he violated him, but like they didn't, if this was a situation where they're 6 and they're 8 and they're just acting out what they see, like somebody exposed it to Kanye first, or he got into it himself, and then he's showing his cousin that's in a similar age range something that was showed to him. It's like, can you really blame him? The thing is, people don't talk enough about how most kids are SA'd by other children close in age. That's true. And a lot of the times it's because you have adults who are leaving corn around the house. They're not locked. You should treat as an adult, honestly and truly, you really shouldn't have that in the house. But if you're gonna have that in the house, you need to lock it up the same way you would lock a gun up. Your kids shouldn't have access to your corn while you're not at home. But that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, Sheba. If you grew up in the 90s, in the early 2000s, we spent so much time at home alone that it was so easy to get into your parents' corn collection. Like, my best friend was SA'd by her girl cousin who was 4 years older than her. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. This is so common. And I feel like if there was any time to have the conversation, the time is now. The time is now. By why do good looking men who have never been treated badly by girls hate women? At this point, it's programming. At this point, it's programming, I think. I was listening to another. Here's the thing about good looking men, too. And this is what I noticed. A lot of good looking men, for whatever reason, they like women that treat them badly. So I was listening to a sex worker, and not only did I hear a sex worker say this, but if you listen to Six the Goddess, she'll even say the men who have the hardest time finding relationships are good looking men. So I was listening to a sex worker who would say the most jaded men a lot of the times were the good looking men because they were tired of getting ghosted, or they were tired of getting cheated on, or tired of getting played. I said this before and I said this again. Being good looking is not a cure all for everything. And honestly and truly, a lot of those good looking men start off way more open hearted than men who are less attractive, who already kind of know from the jump that they have to have, like, they know they have to kind of play games with women. But a lot of good looking men are very nice to women, and they end up getting into these relationships where the women is more likely to cheat than them. I've seen that so many times. So it gets to the point where they just feel jaded. They feel like they can't find anything real. They feel like they can't find a woman that they can trust. You would be surprised. Yes, that's the best way to describe it. Those manosphere males are teaching young boys catty behavior and toxic traits. Yes. And it's not just the manosphere men, it's their fathers too. I had one student who would go around. So this student was, his mom was Puerto Rican and his father was black, right? Now, his father would be sitting up talking all kind of crap to him about women and black women. And here's the thing, the young man liked the black girls because that was mostly who went to our school, and he would date them. But like, he would be regurgitating these same fresh and fit talking points that his grown ass daddy would be sitting up listening to, you know. Y'all, please hit the like button if you're just now coming in. That's easy to understand, Mariah, because to be honest, what they do sexually is unnatural. It's an exit only. Yes. I think, like, yes, it turns my stomach. It does. I'm not going to say, oh, they're going to hell or nothing like that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I am naturally repulsed by that those activities. But I respect their right to do it, you know? I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna admit it. You know, I respect their right to do it. I rather than be open and honest about it. I don't feel like it should be a situation where they can't get married or they get fired from their jobs or they walk around and everybody gets shamed. But like, let's start having honest conversations. That's the problem with society today. People feel like they gotta bottle up what they really feel, and things just kind of get swept up under the rugs because we're so worried about hurt feelings, or we're so worried about looking like the bad guy because we spoke the truth. What I said about me feeling naturally repulsed by thinking about two males together, the majority of people probably feel that way. But they got to walk around and pretend that they don't feel that way. Now, what I feel that don't have no bearing on your character as a person. It don't make these men a bad person, or it doesn't mean that they should walk around and not be them. I'm just being honest about my natural inclinations when I think about that kind of behavior. Yes, they resent we have discipline and self-control. I remember that guy. Yes, yes. Many women love those types of men because they feel they are a challenge and give them a thrill. What type of men? What you talking about? You talking about thugs? That's true. That's true. A lot of women, here's the thing, and that's another reason why I wanted to talk about this, because you got a lot of women. I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna throw this name out here just to give an example. And again, this is alleged, but you got a lot of women who are Emily B's. You dealing with a man like Fabulous who's laying hands and feet on you, and you're basically being the pick me, staying with these type of men for years and years and years, trying to get them to see your worth, trying to get them to see your value. You see it as a challenge to try to get them to love you, to try to outlast all the other women in their life, and secretly all the while he's dealing with these feelings of being confused, these feelings towards other men. Or even if he don't have feelings towards other men, if it's a situation where he got violated, or a situation like the music industry, again, you can only get so far until you gotta bend that thing over, or you gotta open your mouth and get a little Diddy action. We saw that video when they were in the round table and Diddy asked Fabulous, when you gonna party with me? And Fab kind of just froze up like, dang, it's coming time to pay the piper. So a lot of the times, this is the situation that women are unknowingly dealing with. And you cannot be a good enough woman to help a man like that. They want the baddie and classy girls who don't want them. Exactly. We stole corn mags from the store. Yeah, y'all remember them corn mags used to just be sitting up at the convenience store in wrappers? That was normal. Jamal, I wonder the exact thing. Less attractive men play a lot of games and are more petty. They're more angry. And you know why they're angry? They see that the attractive man doesn't have to do the amount of work that they have to do. The attractive man doesn't have to dress as nice and spend as much money on clothes as they have to do. The attractive man doesn't have to spend as much money as they do. So they get upset. They get upset and they resent women for it. But to me, it's crazy because those same men don't want women that look like them. You get what I'm trying to say? They get upset with women for wanting attractive men, but they like also don't want women who are in a similar looks range as them. So, like, are the women like if they are gonna feel like women are bad people for wanting attractive men, what does that make the men when they're overlooking the women who look just like them? So, I mean, to me, there should be some understanding there. But again, when you are bitter and self centered and your ego is fragile, you can't see that you are doing the exact same thing as somebody else. And then you got to think about it like this. A lot of them get upset at attractive women because they have to pay to be with them. But honestly and truly, I'm about to, like, the way I'm going to have this discussion, some of y'all might not like me, or some people might unsubscribe after they hear what I'm about to say. But let's be clear, people are shallow. And there's nothing that we can do about it. I can get on here and pretend that people are not. No, I'm going to speak the truth. So if you have a woman who is really attractive, it does not benefit her to get with a man and have children, and he's far less attractive to her, and the genes are a mismatch. Because what she's going to be doing is dooming her children. She's going to mess up her genetics. I know this sounds like eugenics, but this is true. This is how people think. So a lot of those women feel like, well, if I'm going to deal with you, you're going to have to pay me for that. You're going to have to pay me for that. Because beauty is currency. You can get away with a lot in this world, or you can get ahead just by being beautiful. So if you get a woman that is a 10, she's not going to want to mess her genes up and really mess the it's not even her genes, like mess her children's lives up by getting with a man that is far less attractive to her, because it's really not just about you and whether or not you like this man and whether or not he makes you feel good. If you're going to have kids by him, you're going to have to think about how this will affect your kid's life. If you're a woman who's 5'7" and you go have a baby with a man who's 5 foot tall, then you ought to know, like, off top, I'm going to do my son. My son is going to have a hard life. Nobody cares if the girl is short. Being unattractive is not a crime, just a curse. We're not monolithic. It's not a crime at all. And again, I'm talking about how people think on the most primal level here. Is it messed up? Certainly. But it's the reality of life. I prefer guys who are attractive but were late bloomers. Yeah, those be the best type. And most of my friends are female from the time I was young because they were much easier to talk to substantively. Yeah, right. It's considered taboo to admit that, but we all think this deep down. Yeah, let's be for real here. Well, if people are pretending, that'll be an issue for the actual community. I'm sorry, guys. I'm catching up on these comments. See, Emily and Fab is a typical toxic Aquarius and Scorpio relationship. Ugh, Aquarius and Scorpio? That gives toxic. I meant cruel, emotionally cold, sorely women hating men. Andrew Tate type thugs are a separate category. Okay. Emily is staying for the money. They're not together anymore. Did they get back together? She left. And lifestyle. Fab is a controlling Scorpio male. Yeah, they known to lay hands on somebody. But I agree. Fab is a closet case. And it might not even be a situation where he likes men. I saw genuine fear and terror in Fabulous's eyes when Diddy asked him when you gonna party with me, and he was like, we partied before, but he was like, no, when you gonna party with me? Like, I saw the fear. It wasn't giving he wanted that, but he might have had to come up off of that. Point blank, period. The reaction Fab and Jada when Diddy walked in the station, when we gonna party, party. Yeah. Fab was like, oh my gosh. I still go watch that clip once a year. It was diabolical. I hate to use that word, but that's what it was giving. You know, he looked at Fab like somebody who owed him money. It was giving big worm. It was giving, you need to have my ass by the end of today. That's what it was giving. I don't care what it takes. Everybody wasn't born as lucky. If I have to work harder for my dream woman, I'll do. I really don't care. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There are a lot of pretty people who are very stupid. And like, to that extent, your looks are only going to get you so far. If you're a pretty person who is reckless and stupid, I can tell you, I knew so many pretty girls like in my city who were reckless and stupid. And you're getting into relationships where these men are dragging you through the mud or they're doing drugs. And some of them are not even alive today as a result of them getting into drugs, or now they look old and worn out. So it's like you were blessed with the beauty, but by the time you hit 30, it was a wrap for you because you're stupid and you live recklessly. Them looks only get you so far. Okay, guys, if y'all are just now coming in, please hit the like button. Yeah, that clip, it was crazy. But girl, you know down the line he did end up partying with him. He had to. Fab ain't have no choice but to let Diddy clap them cheeks. Allegedly. This is all allegedly. He ain't had no choice. This is how they make their money. This is how they get their bread. Oh, and I didn't know Em and Fab weren't together anymore. Yeah, they've been broken up for a couple years. I think Emily got a whole new man and all that. I never thought she would leave. Me either, but she got on. You know, Tina was roasting him and everything. If Tina can leave Herbo, Emily can leave crazy ass Fab. But are they still together? Did Tina leave him? Being attractive or being beautiful is the woman's trait. Men are supposed to bring many other things before being attractive. It depends on the woman. I don't date anybody that I'm gonna be honest. So people might get mad when I say this. Look, the attractiveness level to the man, like I put it to you this way. I'm gonna date a man who makes $50,000 a year, or 60,000 or 70,000 somewhere. I would date a man. Let's say this. I would date a man who made $50,000 a year and above, who is a nice person, treats me well, and is faithful, and we match in looks. Before I would date a man that is a millionaire and the looks is way off and he's unattractive. I'm gonna choose the man that is like stable and is a good person. He don't got to be rich. I personally am going to choose the man that I'm looks compatible with before I choose the man that is a millionaire, and we walk outside and people be like, I know she with him for the money. It depends on the woman. That is important, especially if we're gonna have kids. That is important to me because I'm thinking about how my decisions in a partner are going to affect my children. That might be wrong to some people, but I'm just being honest. It has to look like it makes sense when we go outside. Of course, they partied on that yacht. Good for her, yes. Looks is less of a caste system for men than women. I would agree to that. Again, there's plenty of evidence that we can see, especially in the celebrity world, that if men have enough money, most attractive women will date them and procreate with them. They will do it for the funds. So, in most cases, yes, I will say that looks matter less for men. I will concede that. But for men, physical abilities are being big and strong, for example. Looks aren't a huge deal to me, but I tried dating someone with no chemistry, attraction. It didn't work. Yeah, the chemistry got to be there for sure. You can't fake chemistry. Yeah, the chemistry got to be there for sure. But I just kind of think in terms of, I feel like even if I had chemistry with a man, I would be thinking in terms of how are my decisions going to affect my kids. Okay, I didn't even finish this
Everything
video.
she's saying is true, that Kim found this out and she, tried to help him. But this is indicative of a bigger issue because Kanye, back in the day, and thanks to the Stormer and Road page for really breaking this down, Kanye back in the day found his father's Playboys at 6 years old. And he said that changed and warped his mind about how he moved for the rest of his life. So this is somebody who was overexposed as a kindergartner. Let's start putting grades on these things. Let's not just say 6 year old, 7 year old. Let's start saying third grader, first grader. So this is a kindergarten to first grader that's exposed to inappropriate behaviors that adults do, right? Their mind is warped. They are in charge of their cousin because that's one of the reasons I tried to look up the cousin and I couldn't find exactly who the cousin was.
Mm.
I wanted to see the cousin's age. I wanted to see that because he said that he started doing this when his cousin was 6 years old. So how old was he? He said he messed with him until he was 14. What age was he? Were you both 6 years old? Did you see the magazines and they influenced you? Was he 6 and you were 10? I have real.
You know what? Because he ended that whole situation with his cousin. I know this is about to sound so weird, but his cousin might have been heartbroken. If you had a sexual relationship with somebody, their family, but like let's be clear, they were probably each other's first. And you have this sexual relationship with somebody from the age of 6 to 14. That's what, 8 years? That's 8 years of a sexual relationship. And you got broke up with by your cousin. I know that hurt him. So the cousin's still in jail. I don't know if he's still in jail. And this is how I know it probably affected him because Kanye even feels like he the reason why his cousin reacted the way he did to that woman. So I know that situation probably ended messy. I know there were probably hurt feelings. It sounds so weird to talk about, but this is just the reality. I agree. I think that situation probably stuck with the cousin for life and he probably was traumatized. Child SA is so traumatizing. It is. Yeah, he unalived a pregnant girl. Yeah, we do need this combo. And like what I'm hoping to get out of this conversation, because it's beyond the gossip. This is a serious topic. And what I would like to see moving forward is people having more conversations with their children about how to behave appropriately with their other family members and siblings. I would also like to see people not leaving young children alone with older children. I would like people to be able to look out and see the signs of when a child is being essayed so that you can probably speak up. But also, if you suspect the child is being SA'd, it's probably best that you not let your child spend time alone. And no, I don't want to make it seem like all victims of SA are predators, right? I was a victim of SA several times, right? But I never behaved in that way. Like I never initiated any sexual contact with another child, or I never preyed on anybody that was younger than me. My problem, especially when I got into a teenager, was me talking to grown men, right? That is how my response manifested. But still, you have to be cautious. It doesn't mean that you mistreat a child. You just kind of be cautious about how you handle your child around those kids. I would like to see grown people stop giving these children cell phones at 8 years old and 5 and 6. They don't need it, and they know how to get around those parental blocks. We did just fine not having a cell phone in the 90s and the 2000s and the 80s, for my older millennials. Your kids will be okay if they do not have a cell phone or a tablet. I would like to see parents monitoring these phones and what their kids are looking at the in these phones more. I would like to see adults locking up any type of sexually explicit content that you keep in your house. Do you really need to keep that kind of stuff in your house? Do you really need to keep it in your house? I would like to see adults being a lot more discreet about their sexual relationships. For example, if you know your kids are in the house, there is no reason for you to be screaming at the top of your lungs when you are doing a nasty. Give me a second, y'all. I gotta go stir the pot. I'm gonna stop my camera and play the rest of this video.
Questions about the age gap between him and the cousin. Now, him saying that he influenced the cousin to do that and that behavior, I completely agree. I completely agree. There's a lot of people in the prison penal system who have been assaulted, and that rage of not being able to protect their inner child or the child that was harmed causes them to harm others. Yes, Kanye, I do completely believe that. But let's talk real before I close this out. A lot of you are Kanye. I heard about a lot of you, and I know a lot of you are Kanye. A lot of you tried people in your family, and now you're still overly sexual adults today. I'm gonna tell you a story. Ooh, I'm gonna tell y'all a story. I'm about to tell y'all a story. This is my channel. I can tell you a story. It's this man I knew a long time ago. He was in the NFL. He was in the NFL. He had his little stint, got his own little money, boom. And he moved back to our hometown. He's very handsome. And I remember he was trying to date me. We would always communicate online. He was trying to date me for the longest, right? So I'm like, you can take me on a date. I'm a classy lady. So he's like, yeah, you can take me on a date, meet me in my house. We're going to go to date from there. I'm like, okay, I accept that, fine, because I like a getaway car. I want to be able to get back to my car, period. So now this was a while ago. So I go to his house and I'm just thinking we're about to meet up and leave. He's like, sit down, girl. I'm like, I'm standing, I'm ready. He picks me up, takes me to his bedroom, lays me on the bed, and is like, we're about to like mess around. I'm like, no, we're not. This is the first time I've ever laid eyes on you. Super overly sexual. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, chuck the deuces. I'm out of here. Now he was a big man to be pick me up flawlessly. Now, that was too much pressure. What did Shamar say? You going a little too fast, sweetie. You going a little too fast. You need to slow down. Okay.
Okay.
So I was up out of there, ended up talking to his cousin. His cousin is a female friend of mine. And I end up talking to his cousin, and she said that he assaulted her. He assaulted her, and there's others that he harmed in their family. I said, I knew it. He was too forward. He was too thirsty. He was too overly sexual, and I knew something was up. It be them type of people. It be the Kanyes. It be the ones that start off.
You know what's crazy though? And I talked about this earlier, like when I first began my live. There are people in her family that would probably hate her if she told on her cousin. Or if she told that he tried to do something to another cousin. Here's the thing, especially when you have a male family member that's well liked, you as the female family member better shut up and not say nothing. Nobody's going to believe you. You will be outcasted from the family. If you tell on a male in the family, especially a male who was well liked in the family, if you tell that they either violated you or tried to violate you, you can pretty much kiss goodbye to your family relationships. So you have to decide whether or not you are going to call that behavior out, or you're just going to be quiet and charge it to the game. Because either way, you're gonna like, if you're quiet, you're gonna have to be around this family member knowing that how they really are. And if you open your mouth, you're gonna be outcast from the family. And it's spiritual as well. You're dealing chakra alignment being off and everything due to child SA. Yeah. No cell, no tablet. These kids will riot. Not if you don't start them off with it. My daughter doesn't have she has a laptop now because she homeschools, but I monitor everything that goes on in that laptop and it has to be turned in at the end of the night. But she's never had a tablet and she still doesn't have a cell phone and she's 8. And she used to complain to me all the time, starting from kindergarten, because all her other classmates had cell phones, but I don't care. The sacral chakra has been disturbed. That part, it will be your own family members trying to cover stuff up. Yeah. Yeah, it will be. Especially if they already don't like you or already kind of feel some type of way towards you. You speak out against a male family member, they're going to take his side over yours every single time. I've seen aunties do it. I've seen mamas do it. I've seen grandmothers do it. And that's what I was saying. For those of y'all who are just now coming in, I'm going to retell this story because I think it's so important. Like, this is how messed up our psyche is. Like, during the 90s and early 2000s, you had the latchkey kids. A lot of us got left at home alone, and a lot of us was outside. I was outside. I would come home, and by 4 o'clock, I was outside, and I wouldn't be back in till 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Okay. And then when my mom went to sleep, I would leave and go outside again. We were outside. It was just a different time. With that said, it was your responsibility not to get raped. Literally. Literally. This was always the mentality, especially the conversation that they were having towards little girls, because they weren't even considering the boys at this time. Meanwhile, so many boys were getting SA'd and nobody was even considering them. The conversation that was being had with us in the 90s and early 2000s was, don't entice these men. Don't be outside being a fast little girl. Don't be up in these men's face. So it was our responsibility not to get SA. So I used to be friends with these twins. Me and my brothers used to hang out with these twins. And they had an older brother. The older brother was named AB. I don't mind saying it. That was his name. So he was 20 years old. At the time I was 7. My mom would come home and go to sleep after work, but my mom knew him. We had been around him for years, right? By this time, because we had lived in that apartment complex for a while. So he came into our apartment. My mom knew he was there, but she was kind of in and out of sleep. I remember her speaking to him. So he comes up with this idea for us to play hide and go seek. So we did. So everybody went and hid, and I went in the room and hid. He came and found me, put me on the bed, opened my legs, and proceeded to try to SA me. The only thing that stopped him was that my brother walked in the room, right? So nothing happened. I remember just kind of freezing up. Like, I remember just kind of being surprised, but I also remember feeling bad and guilty about it. So I told my brothers to please not tell on me. Even though I didn't initiate anything with him, I didn't try to touch him, I didn't enjoy what was happening. I like none of that. it was like, what's going on here? I told my brothers not to tell on me. A couple years later, when my brother got upset with me, he told on me for a grown man trying to essay me. And my mom's reaction was, "What did you do to entice him?" That was the question she asked. And that was very normal back then. So they were putting this type of blame on the young girls. Imagine the guilt and shame of a young boy. I've heard grown men even say, "Oh, if a young boy gets touched by a man, that's his fault because you would have to unalive me." Family members act so guilty when they see me and give me a sense of resentment, but give me superficial honor. Me with my dad's side of the family, I'm like JFK and dealing with the military. Yeah, man, family can be weird. That's what I used to hear all the time by older women talking to young girls. Exactly. It's your fault. Right. It was all about not being fast, not wearing nothing too tight or short. Yeah, and like they did nothing to kind of like, you know, a part of me a little bit kind of understands you don't want to be the one that gets picked. Here's the thing about a pedo. They're gonna find a victim. They're gonna find a victim. Period. So a part of me kind of understands you don't want to be the one to catch their eye. But if it's not you, they're gonna do it to somebody else. And it's absolutely not the kid's fault. Yeah, girl, it was weird. It was weird. And I just remember when my brother, I just remember being so afraid. Like, it's crazy how we were raised. It's because we were taught to be shameful about that stuff. We were. It was your fault and not the men's fault. We weren't taught they're the ones who are sick. It's you're the one who is fast and you're giving them a reason to want you. Okay, I have another video that I want to play. I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I got to get off of here because I got to get up early. But I want to share this video. So I don't know if y'all remember those rumors about Jeffree Star and Kanye West that happened like, in like the 2010s. It's seeming like Jeffree Star is coming out and confirming, actually, yeah, we did sleep together.
Jeffree Star has been sleeping with Kanye West, and that's why they're getting a divorce. Goodbye.
Some of these Kanye West rumors to rest.
I see it on so many other rappers, but you guys won't report on it because I'm not kissing and telling.
Let's name a few. You could throw a few out.
Number 3 trending. I woke up out of bed, Chris, and I'm like, huh? And the headline reads, Kanye West might be sleeping with Jeffree Star. I can't. And I woke up and my phone was blowing up and I'm like, oh my God, what in the scandal is going on today? I honestly had no idea, right? I guess some girl made up a whole lie on TikTok and it went viral where she insinuates Kanye and Kim are getting divorced because a big male beauty influencer is sleeping with him. Look at this shit, y'all. This is so stupid. What?
Since when did you learn all those moves?
Me and Kanye have.
I've learned that when people go out of their way to clear a rumor, then there's some truth to it. Because he made too big of a deal about this. It's like either ignore it or just be like, that's not happening. He's doing the most.
Have never hung out, and this whole thing is really funny. So,
hold on.
Maybe the Kanye shit. Talk about that. That's funny.
Oh my God.
True.
That it is funny.
Okay, hold on. Before y'all watch this. So this says breaking. Jeffree Star just alluded in new post that the old rumors that he had a sexual relationship with Kanye West were true. So this is what he tweeted. Oh, F it. The rumors were true. But he tweeted that after Kanye made the statement about his cousin. So like the timing is very weird.
You hook up with
Well,
Kanye?
he
Absolutely not.
unequivocally
You
says
trolled
no.
it though, and you fed into it.
Yeah,
little bit.
only
It was
because when
awesome.
for a day, and then I was like, "This is actually." I didn't know it was going to be so big. Because imagine you just wake up and there's a text from your mom. Are you fucking? Are you fucking you? And I'm like, huh? I was like, Mom, watch your mouth. The
Are you
tolerate.
friends with him?
No.
Oh, so there's no
We
like.
met like
Nothing.
once, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was at
Jeez.
Kim K's house for
So
a
completely made
beauty
up.
event. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's too short for me. I'm not into that. The
Well,
rappers.
it's not like
Well, y'all know the Kardashians like to steal their friends' men. It seems like Jeffrey pulled a Kardashian on the Kardashians. I'm not saying that's right, but that's what it seemed like happened.
Yeah.
shame around here.
This guy,
I'm
this
just
guy's
being
a
honest.
sensitive
How
topic for this
tall
guy.
is Kanye?
Not tall enough.
Maybe the Kanye shit. Talk about that. That's funny.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad it's a new day now and we don't play those type of games with kids now. Yeah, that's not even normal. If somebody was to tell a child don't entice a grown man, we would look them upside their head so crazy. We would be calling the C, the P, and the S. OMG, girl, yes. See, now this is what I wanted to hear about because I believe Jeffrey and Kanye did mess around. I believe they messed around just like I believe that Lil Durk and Sydney Starr messed around. Did you hear about that? I talked about that earlier. Guys, if you're just now coming in here, please hit the like button. Yes, so there was, let me see if I can find it on TikTok. There was a rumor going around that Lil Durk messed with Sydney Starr. And none of them, both of them didn't actually come out and make a statement on it. Let me see. Star. Lil Durk. I'm going to see if I can find it. Give me a second. I don't see it and I don't want to click on the wrong thing. But basically, I watched this live and somebody hopped in Sydney Starr's live chat and was like, "Are you messing with Lil Durk?" And Sydney Starr, she didn't like, you saw her reaction when she read it. And then y'all know how girls, when we have tea or gossip, we'll like whisper in our homegirl's ear and be like, "Oh shit." Sydney Starr did just that. And it was giving, we've been found out. You feel me? Like that's what it was giving. So but Sydney Starr said that when she talks to these men, she said that like once they find out, because a lot of people don't know who she is. She said once they find out that she is transgender, about 80% of them still want to deal with her. That's what she said. Now, it might be true, it might be false. Sometimes I feel like a lot of these men who are transgender or gay, they relish in making women be paranoid as to whether or not men are gay, or like they relish in making us feel like all men are gay, right? So I do think there's that element to that because I think I'm not saying in every situation, but I feel like in some situation there is a little bit of envy, right? But I think the truth is, I think two things can be true at the same time. There could be some ill intention there. Some of them could just be speaking the truth about their experience. And then it could be a situation where there's ill intention, but they're also telling the truth. So who knows? I'm going to say probably a lot more men than what we think there are gay or go both ways. I'm willing to say the majority. I'm willing to say about 65%. Poor India, she's been through so much with this man just for the little bit of luxury she enjoyed, which is still a great life for us, but still, it ain't worth it. And we don't know what type of STDs she was dealing with. He seemed very toxic. You dealing with other women. There's no peace of mind. You got all this stuff, but you don't have any peace of mind. And then on top of that, now you have a child who is basically going to be another statistic in terms of they're going to be a fatherless child because the dad is going to prison. So it's not worth it to put your child through something like that for the money. I'm not saying the child can't grow up and be an upstanding young man. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying right off the gate, she put that child in a bad situation because she wanted to be a rapper's girlfriend, a rapper that already had several children and several baby mamas. We got to learn how to manage our womb better. With that said, guys, I gotta get off of here because I gotta finish cooking and it's 10. I gotta get up at 3. Y'all please hit the like button on your way out, and I will see y'all tomorrow.